Before the bell could even make this match official, the action was underway. Austin was proving that he'd do anything to win, first attacking Rock while his back was turned, and then looking to use the WWE Championship. Rock had a brief moment where he unloaded some of his trademarked rights, but then ran into Austin's Thesz press. Austin was wrestling with a hint of desperation not usually seen from him. A very, very fast start for Austin, as he'd use a couple of his running elbows to rattle Rocky in the early moments. Was The Rock not ready for Austin's tactics? Would he be able to get back into the match quickly before Austin really started stomping a mud hole? Once the action went to the ringside area, the brutality really got ratcheted up. Rock used the announce table and timekeeper's table to his advantage. But took his eye off Austin for one brief moment, which allowed Austin the chance to clock him with the belt. Austin was really looking like a different superstar than the one we'd known the last few years. There was a sinister look in his eye as he yelled at officials. A more deliberate approach as he threw heavy rights at The Rock, who stumbled all over trying to stay on his feet. Austin's face wore an angry sneer while he planned his next move, knowing he had plenty of time with Rocky hurt. Back in the ring, Austin continued a methodical, brutal beatdown to the People's Champion. Right after right after right, despite the objections of the referee, found their mark. Even when Rock was able to land a few strikes of his own, Austin immediately cut off his offensive surge. Stone Cold hadn't been WWE Champion for nearly 18 months, and it was clear that this had done something to his psyche. The Rock wasn't the reason that Austin was out, but he had clearly benefited the most from Austin's absence. And it seemed that Austin was taking every opportunity to make Rock pay for taking what he considered to be his. Did The Rock really underestimate what kind of match this was going to be? Had he considered Austin to be a friend? Did he not take Austin's words at face value? For a little bit there, it looked like Austin had completely overwhelmed The Rock. But The Rock never lost faith in himself. He took advantage of Austin backing off and clotheslined his way back into the match. Once he had Austin down, Rock was able to reevaluate the situation. And once he had, he went to ringside to grab the timekeeper's bell. Instant karma, it seemed, was going to get Austin. Now it was The Rock who was going to find an angrier, meaner place inside. And it was The Rock who was going to make Stone Cold Steve Austin suffer. With no rules to hold them back, the Brahma Bull and the Rattlesnake were going to throw absolutely everything at each other, with the dream of leaving WrestleMania 17 as WWE Champion. Back and forth they'd gone, but neither Austin nor The Rock had found that moment that would give them the win. As Austin attempted an Irish whip, though, The Rock would surprise him with a stone-cold stunner of his own. The millions and millions of Rock's fans exploded. Would this be it? Could The Rock embarrass Austin like this by beating him with his own move in Texas? Austin would display his hallmark grit, managing to kick out at the 2 count. And while the two men laid on the mat, trying to find the spark to get back to their feet, Mr. McMahon would make his entrance. All eyes are on Mr. McMahon, but in the ring, Austin flattens The Rock with an incredible spine buster, which gets a 2 count. Caught up in his frustration, Austin blindly rushes at Rock, who now flattens Austin with his spine buster. That leads to the people's elbow. But when Rock covers Austin, Mr. McMahon breaks up the pin. That's right, Mr. McMahon helped Stone Cold Steve Austin. To this day, I cannot believe I ever saw that happen. The look on The Rock's face is pretty much the look that I had. What the hell? Rock's anger raged over, and he made a huge mistake in forgetting about Austin in hopes of laying the smackdown on Mr. McMahon, which led to him running straight into a stone-cold version of the Rock Bottom. Mr. McMahon had turned the match on its head, and Stone Cold Steve Austin looked ready to strike and finish his quest of regaining the WWE Championship under some unthinkable circumstances. inevitable. Stone Cold was going to win, and it was obvious to everyone watching. The Rock had been able to get back into it once Mr. McMahon had arrived. Now, Stone Cold was obliterating The Rock with a chair as Mr. McMahon instructed him, and all we could do was watch. Somewhere in the darkest places of Steve Austin's mind, he had convinced himself that the only way to get back to where he was would be by teaming with the man who had been his biggest enemy for years. Had the man never really changed? Had he simply fooled the fans during those years where he was WWE's most popular superstar? Should it have ever been surprising that the man who preached DTA, don't trust anybody, was not someone to be trusted? Or had something changed in Austin while he was gone? And how could The Rock have ever expected anything like this to happen? Kurt Angle always looked to prove that his opponent had no business in the ring with him. He'd use basic mat wrestling sequences to feel his opponent out, to see if he could make them uncomfortable. Eddie Guerrero knew that he had the technical skills to hang with Angle, and showing them off would be essential to his survival in the match. If Angle knew you were outmatched right away, he'd just play with you. Eddie being able to counter his way out of Angle's mat wrestling was his way of saying, I'm the champion for a reason, and I'm just as good as you are. Nobody able to grab control, both back to their feet in the standoff. Angle looking a little surprised that Eddie was more than capable on the ground. Into the barricade, taking all the air out of him. As Angle maintained his control, Eddie again grew desperate, looking for any chance to get Angle on the defensive. Perched on the top turnbuckle, Guerrero would fight back, sending Angle crashing to the mat. Looking to strike quickly, Eddie again went for broke, attempting his frog splash to a downed Angle. Each time Eddie took a risk, it failed to pay off. Was Kurt baiting him to force the mistakes, or was Eddie just rushing the opportunity? Eddie would need to make adjustments if he was going to find the victory. Eddie was attempting to rally, and Angle needed to cut it off quickly. You know Kurt means business when the straps come down. He had Eddie right where he wanted him, looking to end the match courtesy of his trademark ankle lock. Eddie hadn't taken much damage to his ankle at this point and was able to survive the painful predicament with a timely roll-up. So evenly matched, no one able to maintain a dominant position for long. Both men were unsure of their path to victory, but Angle was not going to let that throw him off his plan, as he took the champion down again with another German suplex. Eddie had fought so hard to get back into the match, struggling to get Angle back to his feet, hoping to put the finishing touches on his challenger. In the blink of an eye, Angle had managed to trap Eddie back in the ankle lock. The exhaustion was obvious, but Eddie continued to fight. Could he make it to the ropes? Was he going to tap out? Eddie reached into his bag of tricks and was able to roll forward, sending Angle crashing to the floor. Despite freeing himself from the hold, Eddie still seemed to be in a bad predicament. His ankle looked to be severely damaged, keeping him from following up with any attacks. Looking scared, Eddie began to loosen his boot, hoping to alleviate any potential swelling. The look in Angle's eyes as he went back into the ring was like a lion chasing down its prey. With the ankle lock again applied, was there anything left in Eddie? The answer was yes, as Eddie would free himself from both his loose boot and the ankle lock itself. In the confusion, Kurt would run right into a small package attempt by Eddie. And the bell rang with Eddie Guerrero finally tricking Kurt Angle, keeping his status as WWE Champion intact. Shawn Michaels and Kurt Angle came into this match looking to prove their superiority over the other. Now, the match was about to kick up a notch. Angle, looking to suplex Shawn Michaels right through the announce table, showed how badly he wanted to injure the Heartbreak Kid in this contest. While Michaels managed to escape the attempt, he would not be so lucky on the follow-up. An Angle slam into the ring post was not what anyone was expecting to see so early. But Angle would look to target Shawn's main weak point, going for the back that had been injured in 1998 and forced Michaels out of action for 4 years. Knowing it might be the only thing that'd work at that point. And now, HBK had turned the tables, with Angle hurting on the arena floor. Michaels would reverse another angle slam attempt, only to find himself in the ankle lock. But Kurt would receive no rest here, with Michaels again reversing to a pin attempt. Back to their feet, Angle would catch a sweet chin music attempt and finally connect with the angle slam. After Shawn kicked out at 2, Angle, for a moment, seemed to lose his cool. What do I have to do to beat this guy? It only lasted a moment, though, and with Angle pulling his straps back up, only to take them right back down, he appeared focused on the task at hand once again. Defeat Shawn Michaels and prove himself as WWE's best all-around competitor. Despite controlling the match at this point, Angle would inexplicably lose his cool. His inability to defeat Shawn Michaels was causing the rage, and Angle let it all out as he screamed in Shawn's face. Michaels would break free from Angle's grip and bam! He'd floor him with the picture-perfect sweet chin music. With Angle down, Shawn now had his chance. Did Michaels have enough strength left in that kick to knock Angle out? Could he capitalize here? Could Shawn shake off the damage he'd taken thus far and cover Angle with the pin? If Angle made it to his feet first, then Shawn's last gasp would have been all in vain. The referee continued to count. No way this would end in a double countout, right? But that was stopped, with Shawn finally getting back to his feet. Running on fumes, Kurt Angle would try once more to catch. Two of WWE's greatest icons, Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker, finally meeting under the WrestleMania lights. Michaels looked to antagonize Undertaker, hoping to fluster him into making a mistake. And if all that failed, Shawn still knew some less than honorable tactics to help keep the match in his favor. Shawn knew that if he wanted to end the streak, he would have to use every single trick in his arsenal. Undertaker would see that nothing was sacred once the bell rang. Undertaker rushed at Shawn, but Michaels saw it coming and managed to move. Immediately, HBK would focus on the injured knee, knowing that the best way to beat a big man is to take away the vertical base. The second it seemed Undertaker was getting back up, Shawn floored him with a huge low bridge enziguri to stay in control. Shawn would not allow Undertaker any chance to recover. Did HBK really have the dead man's number? Things were tooth and nail to this point, with both Undertaker and Shawn Michaels seeking the win. Not meant to be. Shawn pulled the cameraman into Undertaker's path, avoiding the incoming Phenom as he torpedoed back to earth. Meanwhile, Shawn was barely better off, struggling to get to his feet while shaking off his own missed moonsault. Such an anticipated matchup. Would it continue? Could it continue? Now it was Shawn realizing the stakes as he got back into the ring. This was his chance. HBK could absolutely end the streak. Dragging the referee back into the ring, Michaels insisted that the match not be stopped, but instead that the official start the 10 count. Did Michaels really want a count-out win? Would he be satisfied ending the streak in that fashion? Undertaker had managed to get back into the match after many thought he was finished, and now he was looking to take Shawn on a last ride. Undertaker was so determined that not even a reversal by HBK into a pin attempt could stop him, as he manhandled Michaels back to his feet, finally hitting a devastating last ride in the middle of the ring. But now it was Shawn's turn to display his resiliency, beating the referee's count to kick out at 2. This marquee matchup was not only living up to expectation, it was surpassing them. Undertaker would have to shake off the disappointment of the failed pin attempt and get back to showing Michaels that the darkness was stronger than the light. Undertaker was in full control. With HBK down on the mat, Undertaker would pull the straps down, signaling to everyone that the end was near. It was time for the tombstone, and everyone braced as Taker lifted Michaels back to his feet. In an instant, Shawn would counter the tombstone into a miraculous DDT, once again flooring the Phenom. Michaels then went back into the corner, looking to recompose himself. Was it time to set up some sweet chin music? Michaels' chance was here. Undertaker was hoping to squash Shawn in the corner, sensing that Michaels was nearly finished. But pure instinct allowed Michaels to get his boot up and once again buy him some time as he planned his next attack. Undertaker was down for the moment, but looked ready to get to his feet. Knowing it was now or never, Michaels had to go for broke. The two had stopped the other in their tracks so many times that even Undertaker seemed surprised when Shawn jumped right into his arms as he attempted a moonsault. Into the perfect position for Undertaker to connect with the legendary Tombstone Piledriver, which was more than enough to finally keep Michaels down for the 3 count. Oh man, I remember this. Both men just laying on the mat once the battle was finished. Michaels still rocked from the tombstone, and of course the Undertaker having